come, we need you. You're going to get this grant of $12,000. And this could be the beginning of a career in the healthcare sector. This is, this could be the beginning to being a PAB in home care. This could move you on to being a nurse, auxiliary or full-fledged nurse. So, this could be the beginning of a great professional life for you. So we're appealing to the youth, and we're appealing also to people who are retired. They feel they still have a lot of energy and they still have a lot to give to society, and maybe they're a little bit bored. They have some free time and they'd like to get back into a professional life of some type. We would be very happy to train them starting in August, and hopefully many of them will come.
That's Bernard Dranville. He's the education minister, not the health minister, but Christian Dubé was there as well, talking about the fact that they're now trying, the government, to get more people back into the system. Stop me if you've heard this before. Mm-hmm. This is not the first time the government has done this. Rob Lurie was at that press conference earlier today. He's on the line right now. Rob, how you doing?
I'm good, Aaron. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. You asked a question. I heard a part of this, and I thought it was a really good question too, because it has to be asked. When I say this has been tried before, it's tried, and I don't want to say it failed, but it certainly didn't go as well as the government thought it could. And you asked about, how do we make sure that it's better this time than it was last time?
Well, Christian Dubé is actually saying that it went pretty well the first time around. They got 10,000. And they say that to this day, 8,000 of them are still working. So he says that shows that it worked, and that's a very good retention rate, having worked in such difficult times as the pandemic. He says 20% is the regular attrition rate. Now, I don't want to get into the whole math game here, but the union says that's not true, that they lost 20% of the people. And they had the attrition on top of that. So it's a little bit of a funny situation. One of the questions that I asked him was that how come you had to give $9,000 last time and now you're giving $12,000? And he said, well, that the context is different. There's inflation right now. And back then there were a lot of people who weren't working. And now we have a labor shortage. And so he basically had to sweeten the pot in order to get more people to come on board.
Yeah, but you also raised the point, and I think this is worth pointing out. When I said hope it works better, we found out after the fact last time that people already in the system didn't like the idea that these new people were getting bonuses and they weren't getting anything, right? You brought that up too.
Yeah, he really danced around that question, but that was something that we heard, largely because a second part of this is that they made an abbreviated training program. So it was a 3-month course instead of the usual, I believe it's an 8-month course. So it was, almost a third of the amount of training. Now, according to the union, that meant that these people would see cases and they would have no experience, have to then go to a more experienced orderly to get help. That led to more work on that person. They were resentful to begin with that these new people are coming in with less training, less experience, and getting a bonus, whereas they never got a bonus. Mm-hmm. So that did create some animosity. And I did speak to some people who told us that was a very real thing, and that made a lot of people uncomfortable. And that did, in fact, lead some people to leaving the first time around.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. That's exactly what was going through my head. So if they retained 8 of the 10,000 that they were able to hire the first time around, okay, that's 8,000. But then how many did they not force, but how many people felt compelled to leave because they were so peeved at the circumstances? And then I want to know also, Rob, beyond the abbreviated training session, it's also a commitment. They have to stay on the job for 6 months in order to actually get the bonus. Is that right?
Well, so yes and no. So what they do is they get paid the $8,000 for doing the 3-month training course, and then once they pass, they get a $4,000 bonus. Now, if they leave the job with before 6 months, then they have to give back the $4,000, but they're not going to have to pay back the training amounts that they got.
Okay.
Okay, so this, as I said, this happened once before. Depending on who you believe, it either worked really well or just worked okay. When asked today about the shortage in the system, what did the minister say, by the way, Rob? How many people are we short?
So currently we're short around 11, I have it in my notes, around 11,005, and that shortage could hit 20,000 in 4 years from now, depending on how things go in the healthcare system. So really, he doesn't have much of a choice but to look for ways to get people back into the system. But, you know, the union says, look, you can throw all these bonuses around and you might recruit people, but are they going to stay long term until you fix the root problem, which is the working conditions, which is, you know, a lack of people still, forced overtime, extra things like that. You're going to constantly have a revolving door.
Yeah, and in the meantime, you're peeving off the people again who are already there, who've stuck it out, and who might now be like, okay, this is the last straw.
So here we go again, right?
And we're talking only 5,000 people in total. So and you said how many are missing? Up to
11,000.
11,000. So it's a drop in the bucket.
Yeah, it's a drop in the bucket. But we all know that, and
yeah.
You know, the health system never works at full capacity of employment. So, you know, it's a very difficult situation that the government finds itself in.
I'm just curious, you know, the part about how many will stay, we're going to encounter this problem over and over again. What's the minister's sort of answer? Did you get to ask, you know, how he thinks this will sort of play out long term?
Yeah, well, you know, he was pretty on message, Aaron. I'm sure that's not going to surprise you. He was very good about staying on message with that. Really, his basic thing today to say was that they're trying to sell this as a career. In Mr. Drainville's clip that you heard before, you know, he was saying that we want to show people that this could be a career path.
Right.
So you could then have a career in this. And he's going after young people, and he's also appealing again, by the way, and I found that interesting, to seniors, because he wants seniors who might be bored staying at home to come back into the workforce.
You know what? I kind of got the feeling in listening to that Dranville clip that he was saying, please, anybody, come back. We'll give you money. It doesn't matter who it does a little bit. Yeah.
And it also, it just seems like a pipe dream. It seems like a pipe dream. But as they're delivering this, Rob, they're totally committed to this message.
Yeah, they are. And you know, I think we have to go back to the pandemic. And you know, sometimes it's hard to remember our mindset back then. But there were a lot of people saying they want to help out in any way they could back then. And, you know, the reality is we're not in that mindset anymore. There's a lot of other things at play right now. And so I think he's kind of delivering the same message that he had 2.5 years ago that he has now. And these are very different times.
Well, we shall see what the uptake is on this. 11,000 people is a lot of people to replace, but then again, money talks. We shall see. Rob LURIE from CTV. Rob, thanks so much.